Developing near and south of the state line. Temperatures are warmer where we have the clouds. You can see where skies are clear currently, or mostly clear. It's in the upper 30s to low 40s. Here's a look at our Wednesday forecast. And it looks like here in Springfield, we're going to wake up to mostly cloudy skies. We'll see that through the morning hours. Clouds thinning out during the afternoon with highs in the 50s. So another cool day. But folks, it's about to get a whole lot worse. Coldest weather of the season so far heading our way, and time for the weekend. I'll have more on that coming up. Color 2 News at 10 starts now.
And now, local election results and analysis from your local election headquarters, Color 10 News.
And we're glad you've been with us all evening. Good evening once again to you. Welcome to Color 10 News at 10. I'm David Oliver.
And I'm Heather Lewis. Thanks for joining us. Let's get right to the midterm election results. And we're starting with the Senate race. This is with 62 precincts reporting. And it looks like Josh Hawley is leading with 53% of the vote. He's got 136,561 votes. And of course, Claire McCaskill here with 44% of the vote.
Yeah, this is still not done. We've been told that there's a lot of St. Louis County votes that are still coming in. We don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen either. But obviously, this is where things stand right now with 62% of the precincts reporting right now.
That's right. And we are bringing you live team coverage tonight.
Our Daniel Shedd is live in St. Louis with Senator McCaskill. Our Colin Lingo, though, is live in Springfield at the Josh Hawley watch party. And I know that we're going to go to Colin first here because you spoke to the governor a short time ago, right?
Now, hey, I'm sorry there, David and Heather. We just heard somebody say that there are some Greene County numbers available. It looks like we've got some activity up there at that podium on the stage. I was just trying to hear what they had to say. You know, at this point, with numbers still rolling in like that, as sporadically as they're coming in, we're asking a lot of questions. Not only who's going to win tonight, but also, are we going to hear from Josh Hawley or anybody before there's a winner or loser announced tonight? We just heard from Governor Mike Parson just a little bit ago. He talked a little bit about how Josh Hawley is being favored in some rural parts of the state. That's also what we heard from Eric Schmidt, who spoke just before the governor. Both are talking about how that part of Missouri is going to deliver for Josh Hawley tonight. They say that that's the part of Missouri that gave it over to Trump in 2016, and they're the same ones that are going to deliver Hawley, comparing it to Claire McCaskill, who they say is to Washington, D.C. at this point. That seems to be a real harping point for the Republicans who keep taking the stage here tonight. Now, we're going to show you a little bit. We got to speak with the governor one-on-one right before we took this broadcast, and we'll tell you why he says Josh Hawley is going to win thanks to those rural voters.
You know, I think the values, I think it's very simple. I think, you know, Claire McCaskill's been in Washington, D.C. right now, and I think she's picked up the Washington, D.C. values, and she forgot those basic roots here in Missouri. And I think Josh Hawley is a very conservative guy that understands that he represents the people of Missouri. And I think he's going to do that. And as a governor, I'm going to do everything I can to remind him every day that his responsibility is the people of Missouri, not Washington, D.C.
Excellent.
From 133rd District.
Now, all of this activity over here on this stage, hearing from the governor, hearing from Eric Schmidt, it's a very sudden change of pace compared to what we've seen all night with this race being as tight as it has been. There's been a lot of vacancy on that stage, and we talked to some of the people out here in the crowd, and they're chomping at the bit to find out who is going to win tonight. The anxiety, the anticipation is certainly rising in this room tonight. Now, the next person we're really hoping to hear from is Josh Hawley. Whether that's a concession speech or a victory speech, we won't know at this point. Still really close. Colin Lingo, Ozarks First.
And we should mention, Heather, as you and I are looking at these numbers here, I mean, these things are still changing, and we've been watching the network coverage all night long, and nobody has even made any kind of predictions or calls on this race because it's simply too close.
Also want to mention as well that the Secretary of State's office has been in contact through Twitter saying that some people were still in line to vote past 7 o'clock. It ended about 9:30 this evening, so those votes are still being tallied right now. And our Daniel Shedd is live in St. Louis with Senator Claire McCaskill and her campaign. Daniel, what's it like there?
Well, Heather and David, good evening. I can tell you the energy level has risen substantially since this first opened here at 7 o'clock. When it opened at 7 o'clock, a rather underwhelming crowd, to be honest with you, just a handful of people. But as the night has trickled on, people have flooded in. I can estimate probably 200 to 300 people now in this Marriott Convention Center, just about a mile west of the Arch in the downtown St. Louis metro area. CNN just predicted that the House will now belong to the Democrats. A very raucous crowd here, applause and cheering as Democrats around the country, really a blue wave surging in these midterm elections, regaining control of the House. We can tell you, though, looking here at that senatorial race, like Colin, when you guys have been mentioning, that not as more gloom, if you will, for Senator Claire McCaskill, the current incumbent who's held office since 2006. We can tell you on the Color 10 News app right now that Josh Hawley holds a 54% of those votes right now, over 42% from Senator Claire McCaskill. CNN and, CBS News reporting once again 54% of the votes here in the Show Me State belonging to Josh Hawley. Looking a little bit deeper in those statistics, so I went down county by county. Rural counties here in Missouri, especially in our viewing area, voting very heavily in favor of our current Attorney General, Josh Hawley. Benton County, 68% red. Camden County, 70% red. Dade County, 75% red. Even in Greene County, 55% of voters there voting for Josh Hawley. This is one of those things that President Trump mentioned when he toured in Missouri and in the Show Me State, really trying to raise a crowd that voted for President Trump by 20% in the 2016 election. Of course, Josh Hawley running on that same platform. The bigger reason, I think, the reason that Claire McCaskill has held her rally here in St. Louis, when you look at St. Louis County and St. Louis City, 85% of those residents voting blue for Claire McCaskill. Once again, they're very hopeful here that as these larger cities like Kansas City and St. Louis continue to count votes here on these midterm elections, that Claire McCaskill is going to surge and potentially catch up with Josh Hawley as the night goes on. We're going to continue to follow these numbers very closely, but for now, live in St. Louis, Daniel Shedd, Ozarks First.
And of course, we'll go back to Daniel throughout the evening as developments warrant that. And we want to mention we've had our political analyst, Dr. Brian Calfano, here tonight. He's here as he always is, crunching the numbers for us.
That's right, and of course, keeping a close eye on that Senate race. Brian, this long race finally coming to a close tonight.
Indeed, although we don't know if it's going to be tonight or maybe early tomorrow by the time we know about what's going on here at the wall. Y'all were talking about it a few minutes ago. We're now up another percentage point in the precincts, and Hawley is expanding his lead. We heard Daniel talk a little bit about those numbers. I think McCaskill's team, even though they're very hopeful about St. Louis County coming to save the day in this case, that they're a little concerned that the senator has underperformed in outstate Missouri, particularly in the counties in our viewing area. It's not just Camden, it's not just Laclede, it's also looking at Lawrence County, Stone, Taney, Webster County. These county numbers show that voters have broke for Hawley by a 3-to-1 margin. McCaskill is going to need to make up for that by getting at least a 2-to-1 margin out of St. Louis County and out of Metro Kansas City. If she can't do that, I don't want to say we're going to be calling this race anytime soon, but it becomes much more difficult for Claire McCaskill to find a path to victory. I don't think anyone was expecting this to be a blowout in either direction, but certainly McCaskill's path to victory may be narrowed by a lack of performance in how she is done in our southwestern Missouri outstate counties, according to what the tallies look like at this point. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, and Daniel mentioned this is in some way the state electorate coming to the aid of President Trump, who put his reputation on the line by saying, look, if you're going to vote for somebody who I want to endorse and I say is going to continue the Republican ways, this is the president's rhetoric, Josh Hawley is that person. Of course, Missouri went for President Trump by 21 percentage points in 2016. So this tends to show that even without the president on the ballot, he is still very much a part of this process, this voting process, as we select our new senator, or maybe our junior senator moving forward in Josh Hawley. If these numbers continue to hold, again, it will come down to what ends up going on in the two major metros. That I-70 corridor is going to be what saves Claire McCaskill tonight, or is going to be outstate Missouri and our southwestern rural counties that end up delivering this vote for Josh Hawley and this seat for the Republicans.
Okay, Brian, stay with us and keep crunching those numbers for us. We're going to get to some latest numbers that are rolling into our newsroom right now. Another big issue people are watching tonight, the issue of medical marijuana in Missouri. Voters saw 3 issues on the ballot today. Amendment 2 includes provisions for home growing. Right now, Amendment 2, with 60-some% of precincts reporting right now, people are saying yes to Amendment 2 by a 2-to-1 margin, 65% there to 35%. Again, that's Amendment 2, medical marijuana.
And Amendment 3, the one backed by Dr. Brad Bradshaw. And this would not allow the home grow. And this is actually failing at this point with 69% not in favor of this one passing. This is with 63% of precincts reporting. And Proposition C, if we can pull that one up too, want to take a look at this last marijuana measure that was on the ballot today. That is also failing as of right now with 56 precincts reporting. It is failing 58% to 42% of people saying yes on that.
Okay, and of course our Jesse Inman has been very busy over the last many months for Color 10 News, extensively covering the medical marijuana issue. And Jesse is live in Springfield. Are you surprised to see some of these numbers? What are you hearing where you are right now?
Well, yeah, guys, right now I'm in downtown Springfield at a watch party for Amendment 2. And I'm here at the Riad on the corner of Walnut and South Avenue. And what I'm hearing right now is pretty positive vibes, a lot of joy. They've been playing music throughout the night. They turned it off for us right here for right now. But, you know, am I surprised at this result? You know, I can't say I am, I can't say I'm not, because it was just one of those things. You never really know how it's going to turn out, especially with 3 measures on the same issue. But, you know, as you guys just said, you just alluded to it, the only measure with over 50% yes affirmation is Amendment 2. And saying that, I want to bring in Chip Shepard right now. Chip, thanks for joining us this evening.
You bet.
He's a board member for New Approach Missouri who backs Amendment 2. And, you know, Chip, it's been a pretty good vibe in here tonight. You guys are kind of seeing the result you wanted. You know, in about, I'd say about 9:45, you had an announcement for everybody here. Right. And what did you tell everybody?
I just told everybody we think we won. We, with over 50% reporting and such a wide margin, we felt comfortable saying we won. I knocked on a little bit of wood, but we were really blessed with thousands of volunteers helping us out on this. So finally, Missourians are going to have the medicine they need to help them get away from opiates. It really is the exit drug for anybody that's having opiate issues. So this is a wonderful day for about 200,000 Missourians. It's a great day for Missouri, and thanks to all the record number of people that voted and the veterans that helped us out all along the way, and all the other supporters. We had thousands of grassroots supporters. It's just a wonderful night, wonderful feeling to finally win this thing. Yeah. You know, and you said, you know, it's kind of been a grassroots movement, and you know that a lot of those folks with pain are going to be the real winners tonight. But it's not just them. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, the veterans? They're also going to be winning. Right. So the veterans, you know, PTSD, their chronic pain, and just all the other issues. And the veterans have, we just don't take good enough care of them. This is going to put $20 million a year in Missouri for Missouri veterans towards health care and workforce development. So the community colleges should be a big benefactor of this, and the veterans, of course, will be a big benefactor because we'll get them back in the workplace, get them the medicine that they need that's safe instead of an opiate. And it's just a wonderful thing for veterans to have more health care dollars in light of everything that's been going on with the Veterans Administration. You know, it's November 6, 2018 right now. When do you anticipate that, you know, patients ultimately will have access to medical marijuana? These veterans and all the other patients in Missouri, the cancer patients, the patients with multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's, they should all have medicine, we hope, at the earliest by next Christmas. It takes a while because the Department of Health will make sure that it's tightly regulated, as they should. And so I'm thinking next Christmas of 2019 or January of 2020, we ought to have medicine. And could you briefly kind of discuss, you know, the process for people, you know, outlining some of the conditions and what it'll take to get? Sure. So the conditions, in addition to chronic pain, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, Parkinson's, cancer treatment, there are about 20 different conditions. They just go to their normal doctor. He can't prescribe, but he can recommend. He just fills out a certification that they qualify for one of the conditions. They send that to the Department of Health. The Department of Health issues a patient card, and they're in.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Hey,
if things hold up how they are right now, we're going to stay here at the Riyadh throughout our broadcast here, and you're going to be hearing from some veterans as well. Like Chip was just saying there, he really thinks they're perhaps the biggest winners in all of this. But like I said, we'll keep it here throughout the night. You'll hear some of those voices. And also, with Color 10 being your local election headquarters, we'll keep you updated on all the other races going on throughout Missouri tonight. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio in Springfield. Jesse Inman, Ozarks First.
All right, Jesse, thanks. Heather and I came over here to talk to Dr. Calfano again, and I think this is an interesting issue because we talk a lot about down ballot voting, people saying yes, 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 no, 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 party, 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 party. This issue here clearly indicates people did their homework because people voted yes, no, no.
Right, and I think part of the reason why they said yes to Amendment 2 is the framing. If you look at the wording, it clearly talks about having funds from the 4% tax going to helping veterans. And you heard veterans prominently featured in Jesse's interview just now. I don't think it's a coincidence that therefore this is the amendment. This is the proposal that passes when you have a heavily Republican turnout and you have a heavily Republican percentage support for, say, Josh Hawley and our 3 House members in the region. This, to me, is smart, or was smart, on the part of those putting this amendment proposal together, because you have a lot of folks who are happy to support the military and happy to support veterans as part of their political ideology.
And this, of course, was compared to Amendment 3, which had a 15% tax, and that would go towards research. So
for cancer, again, not unimportant, but I think when you look at it and you say as a voter, what's more in line maybe with my values? If we're going to have to do something with marijuana and the proceeds from a tax, why not help only the veterans? I think that may be part of it. We'll have to look at exit polling to see if that ends up being the case, if that truly is what happened. But just as an initial first blush look at this, I think that may have something to do with it, the military connection there.
Obviously, voters do their homework and they read what's on that ballot. Do you expect to see lawsuits over this, though?
Of course.
We're not going to. This is not over yet.
This is American politics.
Okay, keep it here. We will be right back with a check of your weather.
Here along Highway 60, where we have mostly clear skies, areas to the north, partly to mostly cloudy skies, but rain-free. Areas to the south, we've had clouds thicken up, and we're beginning to find some wet weather also developing across northern Arkansas. In fact, you can see those lines of showers setting up and spreading northeast now into areas just south of Harrison, Yellville. Looks like Mountain Home, probably a few sprinkles have already fallen there, and we're going to see some of that extending north into Salem. And I wouldn't be surprised if here along Highway 160 we don't get some wet weather moving in later on tonight. That's going to be about the northern extent, but we should not find any rain here in Springfield. And that breaks our streak of wet weather here in the Springfield area. We've had 5 straight days since the first of the month with measurable rainfall. Today, finally, no rain in the rain gauge. And take a look at the amounts we've seen so far. Just shy of 2 inches so far for the month of November, this very young part of the month of November. And we're running about an inch above normal. And so it has been a wet start to the month. And there's more wet weather in store. Not just what we're finding down to the south with this area of rain that's developing, but more rain expected later on this week. Now, as far as the reasonings why we're finding the rain developing across Arkansas, where earlier today it was dry, we've got this weak storm which is making its way across Kansas right now, and that is interacting with a weak frontal boundary, not so much at the surface, but higher up in the atmosphere, to focus this rain into a band now across northern Arkansas, which again may extend just north of the state line into areas like Gainesville, as well as West Plains, possibly as far west as the Branson area overnight tonight. So our hour-by-hour forecast, again, looking at wet weather developing here. It'll be with us in these areas through 7 o'clock in the morning, but then should quickly exit off to the east. I think it stays rather cloudy through the morning, especially near and south of Highway 60. Clouds to the north will thin out pretty quickly, and we'll find mostly sunny skies developing, while areas to the south will likely hold on to partly to mostly cloudy skies even through the afternoon. Rainfall amounts, not a lot. Generally around 1/4 of an inch or less. Again, most of this falling south of the state line. About 39 for a low tonight in Springfield with a high tomorrow of 53. So another cool day expected. Not only here in Springfield, but across the Ozarks. Average highs this time of the year in the low 60s. A 7 on our color radar, and it looks like even colder weather is on the way. Right now, we've got a very broad, flat trough across the United States, so we're sampling some chilly weather, but we're not really dealing with the brunt of the cold that's currently located north of the border. That cold air is going to be dropping south later this week as this trough sharpens up over the eastern U.S. and sort of opens up that pipeline to cold Canadian air to drop south into the Ozarks. In fact, it looks like we're going to be looking at freezing temperatures. Hard freezes, in fact, killing freeze come Saturday morning. And so far, we haven't dipped to freezing in Springfield. We haven't done it in Harrison. That changes later this week. Looks like we will see temperatures probably into the upper teens and low 20s come Saturday morning. So it is now the time to start thinking about being winterized, getting your home winterized, getting your camper winterized. Remember your P's: people, pets, pipes, and plants. A lot of you may still have plants out on the porch. It's time to bring them in if they are cold sensitive, and a lot of them are, because they will be killed by the kind of cold that we're going to find early this coming weekend. And before the cold gets here, we're going to see some light rain developing Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, which could change over to a little light snow before it comes to an end, at least in parts of the Ozarks, mainly near and north of I-44. Partly cloudy on Friday, hard freeze Saturday morning. In fact, maybe near record lows. The record low Saturday morning in Springfield is 17. I think it's within striking distance given the pattern that we're looking at. And temperatures remain chilly through the weekend. More light rain possible overnight Sunday night, which also could change over to a little light snow before it comes to an end. With both instances there, not expecting any road impacts. And then Monday into Tuesday, potentially even colder air coming into the Ozarks. So it looks like we're going to be back down near 20 for a low Tuesday morning, with highs maybe only in the 30s on Tuesday.
It's going to be cold and
shock to the system.
Yeah, we're watching numbers tonight. You've got some more numbers to pass along.
Yeah,
right?
Viewers Club number here. Here it is, 251-734, and our jackpot's up to $400.
All right, Jamie, thanks.
And want to get some more numbers to you, some more Missouri races to mention. In the race for Missouri's District 4 seat, incumbent Vicky Hartzer looks like she is projected to win her 5th term with 65% of the vote, compared to Renee Hoganson's 32%.
In Missouri's 7th district. Not a big surprise here. Obviously, Billy Long winning re-election by 65% over Jamie Schoolcraft's 32%. This will now be Billy Long's 5th term. Coming up, he was first elected back in 2010.
And as for the race for District 8 seat, Jason Smith versus Kathy Ellis, it looks like Jason Smith is going to win with 75% of the vote. Of course, this is with 80% of precincts reporting tonight. We will have much more election coverage after this.
Welcome back to your local election headquarters here on Color 10. We're going to show you the Senate race results. Then we're going to have the three of us on here and talk about some other numbers we're going to review. The race results right now show Josh Hawley at 53% of the vote, with Claire McCaskill at 44% and 70% of precincts reporting statewide. Some other national news organizations have called this race. We are not doing that. Our organization at CBS has not done that, but so we're just waiting to see what happens.
Okay, and first we do want to go to Color 10's Colin Lingo. He is in Springfield with Josh Hawley's campaign. Daniel Shedd live in St. Louis with the McCaskill campaign. We'll check in with Daniel first. Daniel, what is the momentum like in St. Louis right now with these numbers still rolling in, looking not so good for incumbent Claire McCaskill?
Well, Heather and David, good evening. You mentioned not looking good for Senator Claire McCaskill. That being said, I have not seen a single person leave the Marriott here about a mile away from the Arch in St. Louis. They're still very rowdy and cheering on other Democrats around the nation. Of course, Missouri having one of the most competitive senator races. Once again, the crowd giving an applause as Dianne Feinstein takes control on the California Senate seat there on the West Coast, as many of those polls closing. Once again, Hirino from the state of Hawaii also taking it, according to CNN. So much enthusiasm from the crowd here, although once again not looking good for their big proponent and current incumbent, Senator Claire McCaskill. Taking a look at some of these numbers, though, right now CBS News has Hawley at 54%, Claire McCaskill at 42%. But when you dive a little bit deeper, we talked last time about the county seats and how the counties voted, rural counties voting heavily in favor of Hawley. Let's look at some things, though. Female votes, 55% of females voting for Claire McCaskill. When you look at single women, 66%, according to exit polls, voting for Claire McCaskill. First-time voters in midterms, 61% of those voters that have said, I've never voted on November 6th before, I'm going to go out and show my vote. Them saying that they voted blue. 71% of people voting for Claire McCaskill that weren't gun owners. Also the younger crowd, 18 to 29-year-olds, 61% of them voting blue in this election for Senator Claire McCaskill. On the flip side, a big proponent or a big demographic here in the Ozarks is the evangelicals. 73% of them in these exit polls voting for Josh Hawley. Once again, when you kind of add all of these up, that's kind of where you get that number, 54% right now voting for Hawley in red, and then 42% for McCaskill in blue. Right now, according to CBS News, around 75% of precincts reporting, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this live shot, enthusiasm and energy not dipping at all here in St. Louis. They're going to be here really until they see their Senator Claire McCaskill get up and either concede defeat or say that she's won this thing. If they do end up coming back, we will be sure to report that live as that happens. But for now, we'll throw it back to you.
All right, Daniel Shedd live up in St. Louis with the McCaskill watch party. We want to go to our Colin Lingo, who's with the Hawley campaign here in Springfield. And Hawley's come here many times, Colin, which is interesting. He knows that he's got a pretty good base, obviously, down here in Southwest Missouri. You're there, apparently, and right now Roy Blunt is on the stage.
Yeah, no, David, that's absolutely right. You know, the confidence level here just flipped, and Roy Blunt just took the stage. They're essentially saying that Hawley won here tonight. I'm going to get out of the way so you can hear what Blunt has to say about who could be his next partner in the Senate.
You're a working family. The tax cut, that benefit, and the real wage growth makes a difference. And then what happened with Justice Kavanaugh was the moment when our side got as invigorated as their side by seeing exactly what they were willing to do. You could tell it. You could tell a difference from that moment on that people saw this campaign differently than they had before. They saw what was at stake in the country differently than they had before. They saw the importance of focusing on the values of faith and family and freedom, the values of hard work and individual responsibility, the values of the rule of law. You know, these judges that the Senate has confirmed and the President's nominated are on these courts because the President became convinced and the Republican Senate became convinced, just sometimes by one vote, became convinced that those were people who were going to look at the law and look at the Constitution and decide what it said, not what they think it should say. That's not the judge's job. Remember, Justice Scalia said that a really good judge is often is unhappy with their own opinions because this is not what you'd like to see happen. It's what the law and the Constitution says should happen. And just like the out-of-control regulators getting under control, a tax policy that's good for families and good for jobs, laws that you can count on. The rule of law is what makes a democracy work. The belief that everybody is going to be treated fairly is what makes a democracy work. And what makes our country work is people out there with the belief that their children's future will be better than their future. We had a moment tonight, just like the moment that we often have in this country, where you can't pass along freedom, as Ronald Reagan said, in the bloodstream. Even in as great a country as ours, freedom cannot be passed along in the bloodstream. Every generation has to claim freedom and secure freedom for itself. That's what we do on Election Day. That's what Missourians decided to do at this election, and that's what happened in Senate races all over the country. You could do a whole lot more with 53.
He's talking about that moment when Republicans decided they would take back over. This is sort of a little dissimilar to what we heard him talking about a little bit ago when we were one-on-one with him. He was paying a lot of respect to his longtime Senate companion, Senator Claire McCaskill, though he did say with Holly next to him, two Republicans, they're going to get a lot more done when it comes to supporting the Trump agenda. We'll have a little bit more for you later on in our broadcast tonight, maybe a little bit of a chance for you guys to hear that directly from Roy Blunt, who you just saw here on that stage. For now, we're going to pitch it back to you guys.
All right, Colin Lingo reporting from the University Plaza tonight in Springfield with Holly's campaign.
We're going to show you some more results right now. Proposition D, you've heard a lot about this one. It's been a proposal to ask Missourians to increase the state's fuel tax. It was a graduated tax. It would have helped, if they say, fund road improvements. And right now, tonight, it appears that this has failed. With 71% of precincts reporting statewide, people have said no to Prop D, the increased fuel tax, 54% to 46%. You saw a lot of high-profile people campaigning, Heather, over the last several months. A lot of law enforcement and city official types, state leaders trying to, be proponents for this, and it didn't work.
And Missourians saying they don't want to pay more at the pump. Our Bria Douglas joins us in our studio to explain what this means for you. Bria.
David and Heather, if it indeed passes, your gas tax will increase by 2.5 cents per gallon annually for 4 years beginning July 1st of next year. That amounts to $125 a month for Missouri families. Once the tax is fully implemented, that amount will increase to $5 a month. Overall, the tax will generate $123 million annually to local governments for road construction and maintenance, and $288 million annually for Missouri state law enforcement. And Springfield will get $2.5 million from the tax.
Okay, Bria, thanks for that. And obviously, again, that's not going to happen now because it looks like it's failed tonight with 70% of precincts reporting. It goes down by a pretty large margin there tonight.
And a couple more races we want to highlight. Proposition B, asking Missourians to increase the minimum wage in the state. And if we take a look at that, it appears that this proposition is passing. Missourians saying they do want a pay bump for minimum wage. A yes vote was 61% of the votes, and this is with 73% of precincts reporting. Let's go ahead and go to Frances Lynn. She is in our studio tonight to explain what exactly this means. You were actually at Teamsters Hall on Division Street earlier this evening talking to supporters of Proposition V. Frances.
Yeah, Heather, David. So Missouri's current state minimum wage is $7.85 per hour, which is not considered a living wage, defined as what a person needs to pay for basic needs like food, housing, medical, and taxes. Proposition B on the ballot today will increase the state minimum wage to $8.60 per hour, with an 85-cent per hour increase each year until 2023, when the wage would be $12 per hour. I was at the watch party for Greene County Democrats, and people I spoke to were in support of raising the minimum wage. Representative Crystal Quaid says this issue is an important one.
You know, we have one of the lowest minimum wages around, and we have a lot of folks who are struggling. A single mom living on minimum wage with children comes out to be about $300 a week. That is just not enough money to live on. So I'm excited that the people said, to the Missouri legislature that we want to raise the minimum wage.
Government employers and businesses with a less than $500,000 annual income would not be required to pay this state minimum wage.
All right, Francis, thanks. I want to bring in political analyst Brian Calfano again because this is an interesting race that we're watching tonight. Think back, folks, to the fact that Missouri is pretty much a red state now, okay? And so you've got people who are very conservative, but they did not uphold right to work, which is a pretty moderate and left-leaning issue in most cases. They have now said yes to a minimum wage hike, which is also not a typically red stance. So what's going on here?
It's deja vu, guys.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Remember back August 7th, like you said, we were wondering, well, what's going on with Prop A? And is it just that the unions were able to use a primary election with lower voter turnout on average to push through the kicking away, really, of the idea of this right to work sort of status for the state of Missouri? Now you've got a general election where over 1 million Missourians many of whom are Republican. I mean, if you look at the numbers for Josh Hawley, you look at the numbers who are supporting Prop B, there are Republican voters in that pile who are saying, yeah, minimum wage should go up. Why is this important to talk about? Well, from a philosophical or ideological standpoint, conservative Republicans don't like the idea at all of having any kind of minimum wage, let alone one that continues to increase whenever the voters want it to. So the question becomes now, well, what does this mean for the state Republican Party? Or even our senators? Let's say Josh Hawley wins tonight, and he and Roy Blunt are talking about freedom and faith and family and all the red meat kind of rhetoric that you end up hearing. Well, are they going to look at a president now in Donald Trump who has to work with Democrats in the House if the House ends up flipping for the Democratic Party, who starts to say things like, sure, an increase in the minimum wage is fine because I'm president, I got to run again in 2 years, and I want as many people supporting me from these kind of blue-collar but socially conservative backgrounds as possible. It's really interesting, even if we end up getting a Josh Hawley, Roy Blunt sort of tag team as senators, to see that Missourians are still much more moderate in many ways than the choices that they get offered by Republicans in state office and even those heading off to Washington potentially in Josh Hawley.
Okay. Dr. Brian Califano, thank you for the analysis.
It's interesting, that's for sure. We're going to show you one more race real quick, the race for Greene County Presiding Commissioner. This has been one that's been a highly watched race as well because you had Republican Bob Certain, who was the incumbent, who lost to a challenger in the primary, to Bob Dixon. He ran against Sarah Lampe, both longtime state lawmakers, and 94% of precincts in right now. This looks like it's getting pretty far out there for Bob Dixon, with 60% of the vote there over Sarah Lampe at 40%. So we're not calling that race yet, but you can see the results and make your own determination.
And we actually want to go back to our Colin Lingo, who is at the University Plaza Hotel in Springfield with the Hawley campaign. Colin, I'm told that we are expecting Josh Hawley to appear on stage shortly.
Yeah, Heather, that's what we were just told not very long ago at all. You can hear the music is pretty loud. The people here are very excited because we just got a 2-minute warning that Josh Hawley's about to take that stage. We were wondering all night if we were going to hear anything before a winner or loser was announced. After hearing from Roy Blunt, after hearing from the governor, after hearing from State Treasurer Eric Schmidt and their confidence level, it seems this whole room is confident Josh Hawley is the next senator from Missouri. We're not necessarily saying that that is the case. We're just saying that seems to be the perception here at the University Plaza. Now that 2-minute warning came out probably about a minute ago. Like I said, the music is starting back up. They're about to party. They're about to get really excited about Josh Hawley coming out here, and I can see why. For a long time, that stage was barren. That stage had nothing going on, and the anxiety. We were talking to people in that crowd. The anxiety was through the roof. People were so nervous with this tight race that they have been watching for months. They have been watching the attack ads. They've been watching the neck-and-neck polls between incumbent McCaskill and young, ambitious challenger Josh Hawley, who they have just been told won the state of Missouri. So naturally, they are very, very excited. I'm interested to see what happens. I don't know how far out we are from this 2-minute warning that we were given just a little bit ago. I can't tell you, in the gaps in between what's happened here, I've spoken with Roy Blunt privately, and I've spoken with Governor Mike Parson. Governor Mike Parson tells us he's going to make sure he keeps an eye on Josh Hawley when he's up in Washington, D.C. to make sure that he doesn't become a D.C. elite. He makes sure he stays a good Missouri guy. Like, he's going to keep Missouri front and center in everything he does. That's what Mike Parson is comfortable Hawley's about to do in D.C. Blunt paying some respect to Senator Claire McCaskill, saying that he had a great partnership with her, saying that he is excited about Hawley, but he is also going to miss Senator McCaskill, who he's come to know up in Washington, D.C. as a partner and not an adversary from across the aisle. Guys, I don't know exactly how long this is going to take to get Josh Hawley out here, but I'm going to be here until it does, and as soon as it does, you guys can throw it right on back.
Hey, Colin, can you hear me? Can you hear me right now? This is David. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, we know you're tap dancing. Let me ask you a question, though, because I think what's interesting to a lot of people is that Josh Hawley, when he campaigned for Attorney General, came to Springfield for watch parties. And a lot of people said, well, who's Josh Hawley? Because he doesn't have any connection to Springfield. He came here for primary night. Now he's here for the general election night. Or what are people saying there? What kind of support are you seeing for him there? Because, again, he doesn't really have any ties to Springfield, but he clearly has a base here.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, David. It seems like maybe that has something to do with the rural vote that we've heard he's riding in on tonight. I think the crowd just got a little disappointed. The music shut down, and then it shot right back up, and we heard an audible groan. But there he is. I'm getting out of the way so you can hear what he has to say.
Well, tonight, the good Lord and the people of Missouri have given us the victory. We've won. I just had a nice phone call from Senator McCaskill. She couldn't have been more gracious. She conceded the race. I want to thank her for her service. And I had a very nice call with the President of the United States. Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. Thank you for believing in Missouri. Tonight, the people of Missouri have delivered. What the people of Missouri said tonight is that they want a senator who actually stands with the people of Missouri, who represents our values, who represents our voice, and will fight for us in Washington, D.C., and I will. You know, I have to say this, though, as I travel around the state, we've heard a lot about how divided the country is and how divided the state is. And I just have to say, as Aaron and I have been all over this state, I don't know that that's really true, because as we've gone from every corner of this state, from the boot heel to southwest Missouri to northwest to central Missouri, we have found a place that is a people that are incredibly united in the things that we hold most dear. This election has been about our way of life. It's been about the heartland way of life. It's been about the way of life that built this country, the way of life that sustains this state, a way of life built around our churches and our faith, our families, our neighborhoods, and our schools. And I said from the very beginning that this was about defending our way of life. It was about renewing it for a new day. And tonight, the people of Missouri said, we believe in that way of life. We believe it's not the past, it's the future. It doesn't represent something that has gone forever. It represents the best of America. And tonight, the people of Missouri have said that our way of life and our values are going to renew this country. And that is what we are about. And that is what we are for. And that's what this race has been for. You know, now it is time to roll up our sleeves and to get to work. The hard work begins. Of going to Washington and standing up for our values. I said that I would fight to secure our border, and I will. I've said that I will be an advocate and fight for pro-Constitution, pro-America judges on our courts, and I will. I said I would fight to continue to bring back jobs from overseas, to get wages growing, and I will. I said that I will always stand for our farmers and our small businessmen, the people who have built this state, and I will. You know, as throughout this campaign, I've thought many times of a line that Prime Minister Winston Churchill said during the Second World War. He said, why is it that we think of history as something that's in the past and forget that we are making it? Well, we stand tonight at a critical moment in our history. We stand in this hour at a critical moment in our nation's history. Tonight, the people of Missouri have said, we're up to the challenge. Tonight, the people of Missouri have said, we're ready to answer the call in this hour. Tonight, the people of Missouri have said, we believe in America. We believe that our best days are ahead. We believe in our future, and we are ready to fight for it. And I am ready to go to Washington and fight for you. I want to say thank you tonight. Thank you first and most importantly to my wife, Erin, who's here with me. She is the love of my life. She is the love of my life. She is the Lord's greatest gift to me in this life. To have done this every day for the last year with her has been an incredible privilege, but more than that, to live my life with her is an incredible privilege, and I look forward to this next journey together. I love you, sweetheart. I've got some other special guests here with me tonight. My grandmother is here tonight. I want to say thank you, Grandma. She's right there. She's here tonight. My grandma's here tonight on behalf of all of my grandparents, and I just want to say thank you, Grandma, for who you are. Thank you for the example that you've set. I've never known a stronger woman than my grandmother, and it's an incredible honor to have her. You know, Grandma grew up on a farm in central Kansas. The values that she grew up with and passed down to us are values that will be with me always. And Grandma, I hope I'll make you proud in the United States Senate. Thank you to my parents, Ron and Jenny Hawley, who are my heroes, my mom and dad behind me here. And thank you to my uncles and my aunts and my cousins who are here. And I want to say my little boys, our little boys, Blaze and Elijah, are supposed to be in bed. But when we left the house, Elijah was still awake. So I just want to say, if you're watching TV, buddy, we love you. And we can't wait to do this next adventure with you. And thank you to my terrific team. We have the best team in politics. They have delivered tonight for the people of Missouri. And finally, thank you to you. Thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for all the doors that you've knocked. Thank you for knocking doors in the rain. Thank you for calling your friends. Thank you for believing. Thank you for believing in this campaign. But more importantly, thank you for believing in America. Thank you for believing in our future. Thank you for believing what we can yet achieve. Congratulations. This is your victory tonight. It's your victory. You've earned it. You've earned it. God bless you. God bless Missouri. And God bless America. Good night.
And, you know, believe it or not, I know my mouth gets me in trouble a lot, right? But believe it or not, I've really had to be kind of careful. Not anymore. I will be out there fighting with you. I am not going away. I love this state. I will continue to serve. I look forward, in this audience tonight, there are candidates that will stand for election in this state and win. And I look forward to helping you, helping nurture the next generation of leaders for the values that we care about. And for now, it is good night, but it is not goodbye. I love you guys to death. Thank you so very much for all you've done. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Words happening there tonight from St. Louis from Senator Claire McCaskill, as she has apparently called Josh Hawley to concede this race. He announced that from his watch party here in Springfield.
Also announcing that he spoke to President Trump, who congratulated him on being the new senator of the state of Missouri. And we will have much more election coverage coming up right after this. Keep it here.
So we are your local election headquarters. A quick reminder now that all of the issues on today's ballot are scrolling at the bottom of your screen. They can also be found at ozarksfirst.com.
We are turning now to issues in Arkansas. Crystal Blair joins us with some results from the natural state. Crystal.
Well, David and Heather, in the race for Arkansas governor, current Governor Asa Hutchinson is being challenged by Jared Henderson. Right now, those results are in. And in the race for lieutenant governor, it shows us that, well, let's go back to Asa here. Those results hadn't popped up yet. Asa Hutchinson, 65% is where he's at, with Jared Henderson at 32. So Asa, the incumbent, is winning, and that's with 84% of the precincts reporting. And also, Lieutenant Governor Anthony Bland, Frank Gilbert, and Tim Griffin are in the race. And right now, it's showing Tim Griffin the winner at 64% and Anthony Bland at 33%. 83% of the precincts reporting at this time in that race. Arkansas voters saw another number 4, which deals with casinos in the state. Approval would mean 4 casino licenses would be issued throughout the state. The recipients of 2 of those licenses has already been denied, or decided, I should say. And right now, issue number 4 is passing and failing. So let's look at that. Issue number 4 is the casino gambling. 54% of the people, yes. It's a very close vote, 46% saying no, and that's with 82% of the precincts already reporting the results. And we let's look at this, move the prompter up just a little bit. In issue number 2, Arkansas voter ID, of course, that means that the voters would have to have an ID, a state-issued ID, photo ID when they come in. And right now, do we have the numbers on that, on the voter ID? Here it is. Issue number 2, 79% saying yes on that. 21% saying no, again, 83% of the precinct reporting right now. Also, we're looking at something else that was pretty big on the ballot there, and that was the minimum wage issue in Arkansas. Do we have the numbers for minimum wage yet?
I think we do.
We do. Issue number 5, 68% saying yes, 32% saying no. This is to an increase in the minimum wage, and this would happen over a period of 3 years starting in January. If this passes, which it looks like it is, the minimum wage will go from $8.50 an hour to $9.25, and then in 2020 it would go up to $10 an hour, and then it would end in 2021 at $11 an hour. So right now we're looking at 68% of the voters saying yes to that and 32% saying no. So.
Very good. Crystal Blair tonight. Thanks for your reporting as well. So we've been talking about medical marijuana. You saw 3 issues on the ballot. Amendment 3 failed. Proposition C failed. Amendment 2 passed tonight. Jesse Inman's been out covering this, and he's got some more people who want to talk about this issue.
Yeah, hey, David and Heather. Yeah, I'm out here at the Riad here at the corner of Walnut and South Avenue here in downtown Springfield. And we're at an Amendment 2 watch party that's backed by New Approach Missouri. And, you know, like you guys just said, it's looking like things are going to go their way tonight, being the only one of the 3 medical marijuana measures with that over 50% yes vote on that. And we've been hearing from people with the organization New Approach and who are, you know, just really excited for patients with chronic pain and a lot of those other pre-existing conditions. But, you know, to me, the real big winners here tonight are veterans. And saying that, I want to bring in Peter Kershaw. Peter, thanks for joining us here tonight. Thanks, Marine Corps veteran here. And first of all, thank you for your service. And how long have you personally been, you know, looking at this day, getting things passed?
I started getting involved in this actively politically in 2015. And so we tried this once before to get on the ballot. We came very, very close, didn't make it. So started again in 2016. So been at it about 3 years now.
And like I was saying, I think the biggest winners here are veterans, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder being one of those pre-existing conditions. And, you know, the funding goes entirely to veterans. So, you know, as a veteran yourself,
yes.
You know, what does this mean to you?
I think this is absolutely huge, Jesse. I have serving my country with Marines and corpsmen, but having known a lot of other servicemen over the years, and we have a disproportionate amount of traumatic type issues, not only physical injury type issues, including traumatic brain injury and so forth, but emotional scars as well that run very deep. And that can be extremely difficult to deal with. And unfortunately, as I discovered, our Veterans Administration is really failing our vets in many ways. So we have a disproportionately high amount of suicides. I think PTSD is a huge contributing factor, as well as chronic pain issues as well. So, you know, I've suffered from both myself. I know from personal experience the VA is just not cutting it, and to me it's a really frightening thing to see so many vets suffer. And I started researching this in depth several years ago and discovered cannabis. I just kept coming back to this, how incredibly effective it is.
Hopefully now, you know, with things being passed, veterans can get some of that care, you know, folks like yourself that you've long been looking for. And Peter, again, thank you for joining us here on Color 10 tonight. We appreciate it. And guys, you know, like we've been saying tonight, Amendment 2, it's looking like things are kind of in the bag for them, so to speak, looking towards the future. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, hearing from some other people that we've talked to here. We're going to send it back to you guys in the studio in downtown Springfield. Jesse Inman, Ozarks First.
All right, Jesse, our thanks to you. Color 10 is your local election headquarters, and tonight, Josh Hawley has declared victory in Missouri's Senate race. And our Daniel Shedd is in St. Louis tonight for us. Colin Lingo in Springfield, where Hawley made that announcement. We want to go first to Daniel Shedd, where Senator McCaskill did concede the race just a little while ago. Daniel, what's the atmosphere like there?
Well, Heather, good evening to you. I can tell you that atmosphere that was once joyous, once energetic, has died down a little bit, but is not completely flat. Actually, one of the first things that the senator brought up when she finally got up on stage was that, you know, we haven't won all the races. However, the Democrats now have control of the U.S. House of Representatives. Of course, a huge round of applause for that. People very happy here about the overall outcome, although some of those battles, especially here in Missouri, have been lost. To be honest with you, the senator showing a very somber tone, a very vulnerable persona tonight, and that's something we haven't seen recently from that senator, at least in the last 6 years that I've been covering her. We did see a lot of optimism, and that is something that has not changed with the senator of Missouri since 2006. She got up, of course, thanked her family. It took a couple minutes for everyone to get on stage just because of how many family members she actually had here present at the event. She turned around and thanked them. She said, this is my husband here. I have siblings. I have grandkids on this stage. And she said, how can I look at the future and not be blessed? That's the outcome that she took from tonight. So very, very resilient for the senator amidst defeat to have that type of outlook. You know, she pointed a little bit to, she did call to congratulate current Attorney General and soon-to-be Senator Josh Hawley for the state of Missouri, congratulating him on winning the race, but not omitting the fact that this was a very brutal race, turning to her husband at one point and saying that they attacked him in ways that I did not anticipate. So the senator kind of getting a little bit of a grudge out there for just the tactics that were used on behalf of really both campaigns in this, fighting for one of the most contested seats in the Senate across the country. But Claire McCaskill, after thanking her family, once again thanked the people of Missouri. She said, I absolutely love this state. She said, they drive me crazy, to be frank with you, but she goes, I absolutely love them. They are humble, they are kind, they are down to earth, and they are like family to me. She ended her speech saying that she is 22-2 now as a public servant here in the state of Missouri. She said, this is good night, but this is not goodbye. Plan to see Senator Claire McCaskill, soon to be Claire McCaskill, remain in some type of public office or some type of public service moving forward here in the Show Me State. Guys, back to you.
Okay, Daniel, thanks. Now, Colin Lingo, who's been watching the Hawley campaign.
Yeah, David and Heather, we're still here. So is, well, I guess Senator Josh Hawley is still here too. You can see him over there surrounded by reporters and by voters and people who can't seem to leave him alone. That is the result of the kind of confidence that we saw in this room. It shifted in like 30 seconds. It was a very sort of anxious environment for most of the night, and then suddenly flipped. And instantly, every politician we spoke to was confident. Every person we spoke to in this crowd was confident. And then sure enough, before long, Hawley was on that stage talking about the phone call he got got from Senator Claire McCaskill, saying that she was very respectful and could not have been a nicer person to talk to tonight. He did also mention he got a call from President Donald Trump, who we know the senator is very close to. In fact, he told us when he was running and got elected to be the Republican candidate, his campaign mentioned to Color 10, it's Donald Trump who encouraged Josh Hawley to run for Senate to begin with. So that call from the president after a long road to this election must have meant a lot to that candidate right there, who you can see is still surrounded by so many supporters. I don't know that he's going to make it out of there tonight. He has been getting high fives, handshakes, and taking pictures since he made that speech and walked off. So we're going to be here, see if we can get some talking in with the newly elected senator. We've got some photojournalists down there who might be able to grab something from him here in just a second. Of course, we'll be bringing that to you just as soon as it's available to us. Until then, Colin Lingo, Ozarks First.
All right, Colin, thanks so much.
Okay, also want to bring in Dr. Brian Califano again, because we had several local races with representatives that we want to get to as well. Elaborate on some of those races that you want to talk about.
Well, the incumbents won. And that includes Crystal Quaid in District 132. She defeated Sarah Semple, her Republican opponent, by a 2-to-1 margin. And this is important because, as we've talked about a lot, she's been here on the couch as a guest on Ozarks Tonight and other sort of interview properties that we've had here. She's the only elected Democrat, essentially in Southwest Missouri, representing folks in Jefferson City. And she winning by 2-to-1 shows that you can still be of the minority party, if you will, in state politics, but if you do a good job in delivering for your constituents and you have that kind of bond, that local type bond that you would have in a House district at the state level, you can win, and you can win decisively, which she did tonight.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What about the Lincoln Huff Charlie Knorr race? Who won that? Do we know?
I believe it was Lincoln Huff. Okay, but I don't have that.
Okay, we don't know yet. We don't know yet. But yeah, and I think maybe the takeaway tonight, at least for me, I don't know about you, but is that people paid attention to these races. They read the amendments. They read the propositions. They did their homework before they went out to cast their ballots.
The Secretary of State also saying this is one of the longest ballots in Missouri history.
Well, it's 15 printed pages on the Greene County ballot. So yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at this and you go, wow, yeah, folks not only showed up, but as David said, showed up and they were ready to do their work and to vote, not just party line, because there's no way.
No, they didn't do that.
You look at Prop B, and you look at over 1 million folks voting for Prop B to increase minimum wage, also voting for Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley was very much in lockstep with economic conservatism and a lot of his rhetoric. An increase in minimum wage mandated by state law is not economic conservatism. So again, as we've been saying, there's a bit of a split here between what Missourians will vote for in terms of candidates, but when they're given the choice to make a decision about a policy, they're going in a more moderate direction. Yeah. And that's up to the politicians and the voters to figure out going forward, of course.
It was really all about who showed up to vote today in a number of these races. The Greene County clerk saying that we had more than 65% of voter turnout in Greene County alone, so a big number.
Okay, well, just 30-second takeaway. You got a quick one? We're ready to go.
Well, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. These elections are always great. It's good to see so many people going out and exercising their right to vote. Okay. That is what makes us Americans.
The headlines tonight: Josh Hawley wins, medical marijuana amendment 2 passes, minimum wage goes up, and the gas tax goes down. Thanks for watching election coverage, as always, with us here on Color 10.
And make sure to wake up with Daybreak for more election results, and you can always find them at ozarksfirst.com.